Welcome to the Mile High interview series for our upcoming event and our Mile High speakers for 2014. This is Dr. Daniel Knowles, and I am very honored to get to be here with CLA's chairman of the board, Dr. David Fletcher, who's going to be part of our lineup. And before I go further, Mile High 2014 is coming up August 22nd to 24th. It's going to be a blockbuster event. You can find us at www.milehighcairo.org. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. There's a Mile High Cairo group and a Mile High Cairo page, and we'd love for you to find us there and interact and converse with us there. Not just follow us. We'd love to interact with you so you can learn more about our upcoming event. And our speaker today is someone who I have a very near and dear relationship with, and I appreciate so much for what he represents and does in chiropractic, and that's the chairman of CLA, Dr. David Fletcher. So welcome to being here with us with this weekly interview.
Oh, Daniel, it's wonderful to be here, and I agree completely. It's back at you on that. Every chance I get to connect with you is a pleasure. I just want to say also that this charge you're making into the profession with Mile High Cairo is something that I personally endorse with CLA. It couldn't be more excited to be part of. We just want to honor the presence of a big forum like this, and of course it means the world of us that the message of subluxation centered chiropractic is going to have another forum.
And that's exactly why we're doing it. Subluxation centered chiropractic needs to grow and expand, and what a better place to do that than the center of the country.
Yeah, absolutely, and it really is the center. I always used to think of Denver as being, out there, but when you fly, there's still a lot of territory to the west and north and south of you. So it is the center of the country.
So what I would like to start out with is tell me a little bit about what you see as the vision for how you're contributing to chiropractic specifically, as well as CLA.
Well, I think that in my years of practice learning, I never stopped learning with it. I came to realize that as much as we really talk about, the adjustment, and we talk about adjusting spines and adjusting nervous systems, it really comes down to adjusting the person with the spine and adjusting the person with the nervous system. And so I think that my next thrust is to become more relevant, to change the perspective of the person who is receiving the adjustment. And to do that, we have to continuously give chiropractors the tools and the training to be capable of unlocking that humanism within them. The strongest chiropractor on the block is the one who has certainty. And when we give that chiropractor the training and the tools through the CLA, through the Mile High Cairo, through meeting people like yourself, through Sherman College and the other colleges, it really puts them in a position to have that profound certainty that says, I know that I know that I know. And my contribution to that is that our team at CLA has always been at sort of the cutting edge of the technology and the instrument-based interface. But I think that most people know CLA not just as a series of sensors, but as really the heartbeat of bringing that message through this medium.
Well, and that's why I've been a fan of CLA for so many years. And one of the things that you touched on there that just stood out to me is certainty.
Yeah.
And so many chiropractors lack that. And I remember one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Gentempo was along the lines of biggest problem in chiropractic is chiropractors are selling a product that they don't know that they're delivering. There's a service that they don't know that they're delivering. And so on that note, one of the things I noticed, because I've been involved with training chiropractors and working on people's spines for years, is that unfortunately people are less and less able to actually assess the nerve system.
Right. And
there's more and more where chiropractic education, probably over the last 30 years, without being too specific, but over the last 30 years, there's less spinal analysis and less spinal adjusting and more spinal manipulation and pain treatment. So how can chiropractors feel more certain about analyzing the spine and the nerve system?
Well, I think that it comes first off with intent. I think that the antiquated notion of bone out pinches nerve causes problem has really driven chiropractic in some of the schools, especially, to look at the function of an adjustment or a manipulation, SMT, whatever you want to say, as coming from the IVF outwards. And if you're going to change a person's state of health, state of being, it's not what goes on from the IVF outwards, it's what happens neural-durally inside. And so when you just make a decision that you want to, that intent, that you want to really, relate to the person with this functional nervous system, you have to be able to assess on the inner core. And it's not casual that we named our technology the subluxation station, and it's not casual that the reporting process that comes through it is called the core score. Because what we're really looking at is the capacity of the nervous system to act efficiently. So when we take a look at saying, how do you develop your art? The first thing you have to do is say, well, what can I deliver? Can I deliver outcomes that are associated with just, better range of motion, etc., or do I have the capacity? I have the philosophy, but do I have the capacity to assess and adjust to the tone and function of the nervous system as it resides in the spine? And the answer really to that is yes, you do, if you manage your skills. And enhance your skills. And really, I think, Danny, one of the starting points for that is falling in love with understanding how the nervous system processes information. And, I use the term neural efficiency. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the nervous system is processing, megabits of information every fraction of every second. So it's not whether it can or can't. And I think one of the difficulties that subluxation-centered care is they talk about nerve interference, but the truth of it is it really comes down to neural efficiency. And when we take a look and say, well, here is the efficient pattern that means that you're working and not wasting vital energy, the innate vital energy, and here's a system that is actually congested and isn't flowing and isn't serving that energy out properly, then you can find a way to sit down and have a real certain relationship with that patient, not on their pain base and not on their symptom base, but sit down and say, you aren't acting the way you were designed, so we're going to help you gain back that efficiency. Sounds pretty dull, robotic, but that's how it works.
I think speaking of neural efficiency is something that people can relate to, and I love hearing about this stuff, and I love talking. I mean, it's my heart and passion for a long time. And I think it's part of the artistry of chiropractic and developing yourself as a clinician.
Yes.
Okay. I think there's a place where you need to be marketing and sales and business. Most certainly, BJ was a master marketer and salesperson of chiropractic, and we need to do that. But we need to be outstanding clinicians, and BJ was obviously an outstanding clinician, as were many of the other greats in chiropractic that used instrumentation. So instrumentation's been around for a long time in chiropractic, and it's been a hard, and a lot of people don't use it that way. They don't use it for the clinical aspect, and I think that's so important to develop and help me develop my skills as a practitioner for sure. I want to ask you this because I know that you have a very deep understanding of the chiropractic philosophy, science, and art, and a long history with that. What are some of the things that make you, when you look at where B.J. Palmer came from about instrumentation, that excited you about that, and then excited you about today's technology?
Well, I think that if we take a look historically and the era that BJ was in, there was chaos going on. Not that medicine isn't chaos now, but it was a different chaotic one. And you have to realize that BJ's mandate, more than anything, was to prove that medicine wasn't the only path. And he did everything using instrumentation to show that there was a valid approach for chiropractic to exist. And the principle of wellness didn't exist back then. It was about expressing potential, but the principle of being called wellness, about exceeding in performance, was not the story. It was about don't go to medicine or come to chiropractic.
Right.
And it was a short-lived experience under chiropractic, and they didn't have this principle that the nervous system learns. They just talked about the nervous system functioning back in the early days.
Right.
Well, the best part about where chiropractic has been is that the reason that we can talk about wellness in a chiropractic model is the simple principle called neuroplasticity. As soon as we started to recognize neurotransmitters and not looking at an outcome assessment that was regional, but looking at a global responsiveness, and we could educate ourselves and understand the principles of how neurology serves to the bigger principle of adaptation, then we could start listening and looking at the wellness model as the nervous system learns. The nervous system learns in an efficient manner. So in the older days, what happened was instrumentation was localized, and they didn't have the capacity to look at things like heart rate variability. Now you can take a look at the intelligent systems as they globally affect us and can be even non-spinal, and you can apply those to understand how the efficiencies, the neuroplasticity, and the capacity to learn puts the patient into a wellness state.
Right, right. I love talking about that.
Yeah.
It gets me so excited. It gets me excited talking to practice members about it because the conversation changes. One of the problems that I see in chiropractic is the conversation starts with symptoms very frequently for practice members, and we want to change that over as a subluxation-centered practitioner to their total body health, but we don't have the tools to communicate it. And I think when we take the conversation to their nervous system and efficiency and function and adaptation and them being dynamic, it becomes a whole new world to them. And there's an art to doing that.
Yeah, there's a tremendous art to doing it, and I think that, you know, one of the biggest challenges is not losing them along that path, but at the same time not losing yourself along the path. I think that many doctors feel that, you know, they'll wait for the right time to tell the story of subluxation, and of course that means they've missed the opportunity.
Right.
You don't have to be out there. Believe me, the public is out there. The people that are already searching for chiropractic have probably made a distinctive choice that they don't want to be wrapped into a medical model. So we already have this predetermination of where people want to hear a big story. So it really becomes incumbent upon the practitioner, with that certainty we talked about, with that intent we talked about, to sit there and open up the conversation and say, listen, you know what? There is this perspective that your body can and will heal itself at the best of its ability. But it's not only limited to how whether you're sick, not sick. It's that you will keep moving forward and that you can start searching and exploring what the world really can offer you. And I know that sounds a little oblique when somebody's got back pain, neck pain, but the truth of the matter is that there is a whole culture of people, my practice is full of them, a whole culture of people who are sitting there waiting for this story to be told. And instrumentation brings that third-party validity, if you will, into the whole process. And, you know, Bill Esteb, who is one of our dear friends, you know, collaboratively here.
Love Bill.
Well, I love Bill too. And Bill lives down the road from you and down the road from Total Solution. And he hopped in the other day at the last Total Solution, and he said something really quite profound. He said he was pulling away in the car, and he rolls his window down, and he says at the very end of it, he says, and sticks his head out, and he says, David, would you please tell your clients to, you know, absolutely trust the scans? He says, because if they don't, they're going to find themselves flying upside down in the mountains. and he rolls his windows up and then drives away, and you're sort of sitting there going, oh, I get it, Bill. And you know what he was really saying is that you know, when you have something that you understand and that you trust, and believe me, instrumentation has to be valid, reliable, reproducible to even hit the marketplace, let alone to be used. Right. Chiropractors, when they start to truly understand, you know, physiology through the instrumentation, is much like a pilot who's flying blind. You know, if you're just guessing at what a subluxation looks and functions like, and you're taking a static view of it, and you're not looking at a dynamic view of it, then you're missing the opportunity. And as Bill said, you'll be flying upside down, hitting mountains. Right. Got to have the tools to be able to fly right.
Absolutely. So this brings me to a very important thing that I want to mention, that you're saying, that you're hitting on. And when we did the Mile High event, the first year, a big part of the intention was wanting to light some candles instead of cursing the darkness.
Yeah, of course.
And because there was a lot of allopathy and apathy in the center of the country. And so I see the things on the East Coast and West Coast, I wanted that to spread. Now in that event, it was completely a philosophy event. We had some minimal continuing education because we did I didn't know how many people would turn out for it and how much interest there was, and I was really this was a Field of Dreams thing, it was built in, they would come, and so I didn't know what would happen, but I just was like, I'm signing the contracts and I'm trusting. And Nate's not going to let me down here. So so when we did this, and we just had minimal CE for local doctors. This year I said, you know what? We're going no holds barred, and we're going to add continuing education and go for the requirements for Colorado and the surrounding states. And have Sherman College, as I'm on the board of trustees for Sherman, be able to arrange the continuing education. And so I'm really grateful to have you there as a continuing education speaker because of this. Everything we just said about certainty, being able to analyze the spine, I get things in the mail, and probably you do too, and I know other people watching this do, about continuing education for everything other than spinal analysis and subluxation.
I know.
And I said, in Colorado especially, I get very few things offering what I would consider chiropractic, subluxation-centered continuing education. So I wanted Mile High to have a forum for that, but not lose the philosophy. So that's why I'm really grateful for you, and you're going to be helping us with a CLA CE breakfast, and we're going to have a program along those lines. But your program is an hour CE session. Can you tell me a little bit about what people have to look forward to?
Well, absolutely, and I hope they do look forward to it. The actual title is called "Understanding the Language of the Subluxation," which I think is kind of an interesting topic, because what I'm really going to do is look at the language of the subluxation as we as clinicians do. And for that, you really have to understand, there was this kind of collaborative guy you and I both know, his name's Donald Epstein, and he brought to light for the world this concept of spinal and neural integrity. And adverse mechanical cord tension, spinal and neural integrity are sort of the foundational principles of getting your feet wet when it comes down to understanding how we function in this interface between the spine neural dural interface. So we're going to be looking at the logistics of what that really stands for. So as part of understanding the language of the subluxation, it's understanding, and really a little sneak peek here, is that the language of the subluxation, it's like the Rosetta Stone, you have to dial in on this, is something called patterns. It's habits and patterns. And if you can start to understand how the body will do everything it can to operate out of and within these patterns that are being built, then you have the principle of subluxation built into it. The way it devolves and evolves into the structure, whether it be the neuromuscular structure or the organic structure or the emotional structure, is really up to you to try and determine. But the language of the subluxation really is all about the academic application of all the stuff you've learned, the histologies and all the pathologies, all are wrapped up in this principle of whether or not the body can serve neural efficiently. And so we're going to talk about that.
And I've got to say, what you opened, I get excited about that. I get goosebumps thinking about that, and maybe I'm just wired differently, but as a chiropractor, I get excited about that because you said something, I hope they're looking forward to it. Let's just think about that a second. What about actually looking forward to continuing education?
Yeah, well, there you go. Dad, I have to tell you, I've been on the circuit, the old rubber chicken circuit for too many years, and sitting in, I'll be presenting at a CE program. This was the old world at state associations, and 80% of the room is sitting reading newspapers in the back, not paying attention, just getting checked.
Right.
That's not good. That's not doing anybody any service. But the truth of the matter is that that's changing. Right. I think that there's much more compelling information. I think that there's clinical protocols. I think chiropractors, especially a new breed of chiropractors, which I can't wait to participate with, are hungry. They're hungry to embrace their craft. They're hungry to learn a story that they can tell bigger. They're not afraid of being chiropractors.
Right.
And I know there was a time in my life where I was never afraid of being a chiropractor. I was afraid of the failure because truly when I got into it, chiropractic wasn't nearly as evolved as it was today. Right. I never struggled a day in my life. That was an unfounded fear. The truth is that we have an opportunity, you and I have an opportunity to lend an incredible level of experience and skills so that these people can walk away from something like Mile High Chiro, CE credit behind them, an association with a great company like CLA and others that are going to be there, to know that they are not alone, to know that they have learned tremendous things.
Mm-hmm. And look, it's a philosophy, a science, and art, and you have to grow in all of those. In your continuing education, you should grow in those areas, and at the same time, enjoy it. So we're going to have a very chock-full philosophy and sessions that are going to be very dynamic, and I think CE can be dynamic as well.
Sure.
And I've seen you speak, and I know that's the case. So, so I'm really excited. I'm grateful for you to be there. I'm grateful for everybody else that's going to be there. I think it's just going to be a celebration of chiropractic, and a celebration for everybody who's there, as well as getting around and rubbing elbows with people that are outstanding in chiropractic and leaders in chiropractic like you. Speaking of that, just before we wrap up here, how can people get to know you better? Where can they find you?
Well, I mean, we've got the URL that anybody in chiropractic would kill for. It's subluxation.com. And, well, at least the people I want to hang out with are there. So, you know what? Subluxation.com is chock full of our message of chiropractic. You can hear about us. You can dip into it. You can learn about our technology sitting there. And there's active blogs, and there's everything that a website should have. So by all means, jump into that. Just before you go away,
yes.
though, I think that people need to also know how cool it is in Westminster in the Westin. You know, that's a gorgeous facility. It's sort of the wackiest place in the world. Is you don't know where you're going, and then you end up in this gorgeous facility in the Westin in Westminster. So I really encourage people to have a holiday time. It's fun.
It is. It's a fun location. There's all kinds of things to do. There's great restaurants. It's a party place. Chiropractors get to hang out at night, and it's an excellent location. And the Rocky Mountains. If you want to stay an extra day or two, go places. You make it a vacation, and that's what I do. I take chiropractic vacations. So.
As a matter of fact, be ready for me coming up skiing pretty soon too.
Well, our house is always open to you. I mean,
I appreciate that. So, yeah.
I look forward to seeing you at Mile High, August 22nd to 24th, 2014. Yep. People can find and register for our event at www.milehighchiro.org. And again, interact with us, get to know us, and participate with the community that we're creating in the center of the country on Facebook. And people can also find you guys on Facebook as well. I know that. What's the group name? I forget it.
It's the Chiropractic Leadership Alliance.
Yes, there you go. So, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon. And I appreciate you and everything that CLA has done for chiropractic, for chiropractors, for Sherman College, and now for Mile High.
Can't wait to be part of it. Thanks, Danny.
You have an excellent day. Speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.